In this episode, we're going to be talking about objection handling when trying to pitch your rental arbitrage business. Vacation Rental Machine helps hosts just like you learn how to start, grow, and scale your short-term rental business. This show is all about creating systems that help you automate your business, giving you more time and money freedom. If you're ready to start living the vacation rental life, then subscribe to this podcast today. Come and join us on our Facebook group, The Host Nation, where we'll be talking about starting, automating, and scaling a short-term rental business. Now, on to the show. Hey, welcome back, Host Nation, to another episode of Vacation Rental Machine. In this episode, we are talking about objection handling, and John is going to be helping me walk through some of the objections that I faced when I just went out and started pitching my business to these landlords, these apartment complexes. So John's going to cover some of the things that are the things that maybe I didn't experience, but we're going to be walking through some of the stuff that I also saw when I went out. So the other day I went out and I got my list of apartment complexes that I found online, something that kind of fit my niche, something that the area, the location that I was looking for. And I went out and I started just going up to the leasing officers and trying to just view the unit like I was almost looking for it just for myself. I'm just interested in the properties. And from the 7 that I went to, 7 came back and said that they do offer corporate leases. But from those 7, I also had to get rid of a bunch that maybe didn't fit. Like we were talking about in the previous episode, some of them didn't have the automated entry. Some of them used like a key, a key that was very unique, not like a regular door key. That was like a key fob. A lot of them had like a entry system that you needed the key fob to get into. Some of them had concierge that could have given the key, but only had concierge during certain business hours. And if you have a guest that comes in during those off hours where the concierge isn't there, then that could be a problem. So I had to push those out of the way. Out of all of the properties, there was probably about three or four properties that were flexible with allowing of corporate leases, but they did have some objections. And one of the properties that I really liked, and we really hit it off with the leasing officer, and the manager was on board with my idea of turning a car tag. They had to put a sticker on your car for being there. They said that they could work with me and get a little dangling tag that could just be hung, and I could leave it in the unit. So they were working with me. But then when I saw the lease, after I already let them know, like, hey, I'm catering towards military that are traveling, business professionals, traveling nurses, stuff like that, accommodating people that are maybe staying for, let's say, anywhere from like a week to maybe a month or more. And they said that was okay. They do corporate rentals. But when I looked at the policy, the rental policy, they said that one is that you need to have business credit for 12 months or a Dun & Bradstreet number credit for 24 months. So you have to have 2 years of a business, which in my case doesn't really work. And then the second thing that they said was you are not allowed to list on Airbnb or any other type of vacation rental service. So that kind of got me a little bit disappointed because that was a place that was working with me. They did seem really well. And I didn't talk to the manager with this one, but the manager was working with me to get the tag. So I know that they are kind of flexible, and they were following up with me, making sure that everything was okay so that I could move forward with them. But I did see a couple of these objections in their policy. So John, how do you handle something like this if I wanted to move forward with them?
Well, definitely great job on getting out there. I did see your list. I thought it was a good list to kind of go to, and you did everything right. I mean, you went there, you went and checked to make sure that one, your guests weren't going to be inconvenienced doing check-in, stuff like that. So that's fantastic. So from there, you did narrow some stuff down. Now it's really about just that conversation and overcoming objections. So it seems like the first objection that you have on this one is that there is a written something that says no Airbnb or other sites, right? So if that's right, then one of the things that you can do is you can go back to them, talk to the manager, and you can just ask if you could put it on your own website. This normally means, yes, you can do that because you're a corporate entity. At the same time, you already mentioned that, hey, you serve these professionals, so they have to find you. So if you can put it on your own website, that's like a toe in the door, right? Now we got to talk about why the other exclusions on other platforms. But we're not really going to say Airbnb, but we're going to talk about maybe HomeAway. If you really start looking at, just do a Google search for all types of marketing channels for short-term rentals, you'll find that there's a plethora of other platforms that you can post on. There's some called FlipKey, there's some called Nine Flats. These are all things. They don't have big names, but they still have a following. Maybe you just deploy to all of those except the ones that are listed. But they did in this case, show that they didn't want any other sites similar to Airbnb. So it's smart to go back, ask if you could do it on your own website. If they say yes, then you kind of just have to get a back and forth going on, okay, well, what's the exclusion about this about? Is it something that you guys are open to allowing me to do? Those things can happen. You're somewhat a little, you're probably not going to be able to pursue this one because of the credit piece that they're looking for. So again, for everybody that doesn't know, DMB or Dun & Bradstreet, that is business credit. That's just like going to Experian and looking up your own personal credit score. So this is dedicated directly towards the business. This means you either have an account with a credit card on it or you don't have an account at all. Or you might not have any actual cards, but you have a DMB number. As soon as you guys set up your entity, I suggest you go out and create a DMB number. It's simple. You just go to the website. There's a way that you can do it for free. You just go in there and kind of create it and wait a few days. I believe they will try to charge you about $40 or so, but you don't have to pay that. But get the DMB number as soon as you can, as soon as you get your entity stood up. This is important because sometimes they just want to be able to look you up. They don't even really need anything. They just want to look you up. If they can look you up, then it's like, hey, you know what? We haven't had to operate on any type of credit or anything that way. But, you know, we're a legit business. You can find us there. Here we are. At the same time, they'll see that you had a revolving open credit for however long. So that's always good to have. What else did they kind of throw in, or what else did you find when you went out to some of the other places?
Yeah, so one of the other properties that I was pretty interested in, they said that they have a $50 guest screening fee. So in order to verify like the safety of the guest in case they're unreachable, that they know who's staying in what property, and that was $50 every time someone stays. So like if someone's only there for 3 days or 2 days, it's $50, and you know that would cut really heavily into the profit.
I actually laugh at this one every time that I hear it. It's really because if I were the tenant that I already lived there, I went through whatever background screening that they had, but my family is coming over for Thanksgiving. Do I provide them a list of everyone that's coming over for Thanksgiving? Are they going to tell me, no, I can't have cousin Vinny come over because he's had something in the past? This one is very, very, very sticky. And in fact, if you're going to be doing this as a business, you're probably going to have maybe 60 guests come through. It's going to be a big labor lift for them to go ahead and process 60 people on whatever background check. They might want the money because they're making $50. They're probably profiting $20 or so per person. But the way that I've been able to overcome this one has actually been to say, hey, we do our own screening process, and the people that come in are of this caliber, whether that's professionals, like you said, military people. So when you say that, and coupled with, hey, I will provide you a quarterly report of everyone that's come to stay. I gather their driver's license. I gather some other personal information. Basically, all I'm saying there is that the people that I'm bringing in will be verified. So most of the platforms have some type of verified profile. Airbnb does it where they record somebody's driver's license and get a few other bits and pieces of information. You're not doing anything that's hard to get, especially if you're just providing a quarterly report. Most times they don't even ask for it. As long as there's really no issue, you won't really hear anything from the management office. And when you get a call from them, it's because there's something going on. So that one is always funny. I don't think they have the staff to really kind of uphold this piece. I would always kind of go back and just say, hey, this is what I do for myself. I can provide you all this information. Is your piece still relevant if I give you all of this?
Now, John, I know that there are some other types of objections, more of the common objections that maybe you have experienced that I didn't personally see when I went out there, but I know that insurance can be an issue, parties can be an issue, and then sometimes they don't even have like a corporate lease. If it's like a smaller mom and pop, they don't even have a lease for corporate rentals, and that maybe they're not even really aware of the whole subleasing model. So what do you do when you're overcoming those objections?
All right, let's hit them one by one. So insurance is always a good one because people want to make sure that they're covered and that there's no extra cost in case something happens that they would have to take on with their insurance company. So if we're going to be corporate operators, we want to make sure that we're operating with the right policies. So I, again, recommend that we go out and get our own $1 million policies that cover us for everything. So I recommend that everybody goes out and gets the proper insurance for everything that they need that covers them for, if the guest burns down the place, to also covering them for loss of fees if something terrible were to happen to the building or because of your guest, that your pockets still aren't hurt. And the person or group or company that I know that does that, I got a guy at this company that I talk to pretty frequently every time I pick up a new unit. But we're going to drop the company's information down below. It's proper insurance. Definitely check them out, give them a call. For what I know, they're the best in this space. Get the right insurance. The other piece you brought up was parties. This one is definitely the biggest objection you'll get anytime you say Airbnb. It's because of the stigma. It's because of the news. It's because of what people think. They either think you got cameras in there watching people or people are partying. Those are the two things that people think when they think of Airbnb. How do you object against parties, or how do you defend yourself against parties? The first step is having noise aware. Noise aware is something I have in every one of my units. I set my setting an hour before quiet hours and an hour after quiet hours. I want to know when something's going on. Even when the threshold during the regular day hits above a certain limit, I know. It's important that I know because I have to deal with it before somebody else complains or the wrong people find out. So you got to have the right devices in place. There's also another device that I've heard of that will record or tell you how many cell phones are in the place. I'm not too familiar with the maker of that, but it is out there. In my scenarios, because I'm in an apartment building, that piece just wouldn't work. I mean, if I see an influx of 20 cell phones pinging from this address, how do I know it's just not somebody else? So make sure you get the right equipment to defend yourself against this. But when you have it, you want to show the landlord, the management company that, hey, this is what I get. I know this information as soon as it's happening, not after you call me and tell me that it's happening, or I didn't talk to the neighbor and say, hey, if it ever gets any loud, let me know. Neighbor could be gone that night. Maybe they're partying for a few hours before she gets home and says, hey, there's people in the hallway throwing up and they're coming out of your room. This has to stop. You don't want to hear that.
And of course, we'll include in the show notes and also on the resource page on Short Term Sage, we have links to all of the services that we do personally work with that we have vetted. So we include that there. We also have an interview coming up with David Cross, the co-founder of NoiseAware, and of course, we'll include that in the description of the show as well.
One of the other things that you might get an objection to is some of the places might not be familiar with corporate leases at all. Again, the reason why I tell you guys to kind of go out and just say you're going to do this as a business is because it's 50% of the battle, right? If they allow corporate rentals, that normally means they allow subleasing, because a company cannot lease and live there by itself. The company has members, employees, whatever. So that's half the battle. Again, the other half of the battle really is trying to get them to allow you to online market. If you already got a few units in a place where, it doesn't hurt you to just throw people into it, and you can afford not to market it online, but you got a good direct booking website following and you can throw people there, then that's fine. If you have enough corporate guests that come in and you know that the rotation of those people are more than enough to satisfy whatever you're looking for, then go ahead and take it on. But if you're just starting out and they tell you that you can't do this stuff, don't stress yourself trying to make this work just because it's a great place and you really want it. There are going to be plenty. I don't know if your place or area that you're looking at is like mine, but you go 10 steps down the road, there's another apartment building. So competition amongst them is always there. I'm the guy that's going to come in and pay multiple leases. I'm the guy that's going to pay on time. I'm the guy that's going to make your place look great. You could even use my photos if you want to. Speaking of that, that might be another point. I've run into that as well, where the leasing company wants access and to approve your photos of your apartment, like that you took for the listing website. In most cases, what they don't want to show is the exterior of the building, and they don't want anything that kind of lets anybody else know by the photo where it is. Although there is a radius on a map that shows this building is somewhere in this area. Sometimes that is their objection. So it's really just trying to get down to the weeds and figuring out, all right, why? What don't you want? And working with it. Again, you're a partner. You're not really somebody that's coming in trying to do something that's, cowboy-like, and you're just trying to run on your own. You're a partner. One last thing about this topic, guys. This conversation is going to be getting easier as time goes on, because more and more big companies are open to the idea. There's different solutions that people are kind of coming up with to help them out. Again, you're a help to a big REIT because you're in and you're going to be renting multiple units. You're going to help get them to sustainability. So one of our competitors out here, they do just that. They do pop-up hotels where they kind of go in, they put up a hotel up into a certain point, and once the building hits a certain level that they want to hit, maybe 70% occupied, they roll out. That could be a model, that could be something that you guys look into, but your help, this conversation is going to be getting easier and easier as Airbnb starts to gain in more popularity, at the same time as regulations start to go down. This whole thing, all of these objections will begin to get less. And at the same time, there might be some new ones that pop up. Maybe now they want to make sure that you're in the running or have been operating with some history for about a year or 2 years. So definitely this is a good time to get into the space, get in, do great things, and you'll be ready when this curve really starts to take off.
So I really like what you said, John, about being able to not feel disappointed about if something doesn't work out with one of the apartment complexes that you go to. There are so many opportunities out there. If you don't have maybe so many REITs like you do in maybe some areas like larger cities, you can always look for smaller apartment complex managers, maybe smaller landlords, and you're going to be trying to maybe face different objections that maybe they have, that maybe the REITs have. Like maybe a lot of REITs do have issues with maybe having established business credit or not allowing online marketing, while maybe smaller landlords might have issues with parties, with insurance, with not having corporate leases available. So I think that this is, it's just one step in your vacation rental machine process, and you can't become disappointed in that. I think if you have gotten to this point where you have overcome that anxiety and that fear of pitching your services, I think that is probably one of the biggest steps. Now the next step is just going to be, going out there and really finding that next place. If it's just one place, or if it's, a place that has three, just going out there and not stopping because of this one setback that might come from an objection, because we're all shooting for the no. All of these places, I went in there and you're thinking, okay, I'm shooting for the no, but we're hoping for that yes. And so now it's just going out there and doing that some more. But we want to know, what objections have you maybe faced? Where are you on your vacation rental machine process, and what is keeping you from getting to that next step? Please leave it in the comments in the Host Nation Facebook group on YouTube. I definitely want to see where you guys are, so that maybe we can work through those objections, maybe do a follow-up podcast with maybe some of the objections that you have faced. But until next time, Host Nation, keep on hosting. Hope you hosts found value in this episode. If you did, please go on over to iTunes and leave us a review, as that would greatly support the show. If you'd like to connect with John, the community, and I, then go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation. Talk to you hosts in the next episode. Keep on hosting.